Higher, Uncle Cor! Higher!
Comet demanded as she went back and forth upon a swing. As you wish, little one. Cor Novison replied with another push as he stood with a smile and felt his lower cloak blow within the wind. Behind them, resting on a park bench, was both of Comet's parents, Atlas and Evelyn, enjoying the small moment of freedom as their fellow Spark spent the time with their daughter. Hey now, not too high, Evelyn asked as she wrapped her metallic tail around Atlas's shoulder. Don't worry, Ev, it's not that high, Cor replied as Comet giggled and kicked her legs, going back and forth, down and up. The afternoon was calm in Leo, the sun setting under the sea, the beaches all full of life and glee, while the weather, which was normally hot, now slowed to a gentle 60 degrees. Within a small park near the left side of the city, Cor, Atlas, and Evelyn, with a young Sparkette, Comet, enjoyed some peace and quiet. Like Void and those back in Aurora, the three Sparks had become what one would call heroes per se. Like Aurora, Leo had begun to see a rise in some terrible faces. Yet, with Atlas, Evelyn, and now Cor, the streets had become much safer. Cor especially of which took comfort in this. Even though he saved Earth once, it still almost fell to the very same hands. As he had once said, no matter what he did, it wouldn't make up for the past. All he could do now was be better in the future. He was just thankful to be standing the day and pushing his niece on the swing, giving him a small sense of ease. All right, I think that's enough swing for one day, Alice said, causing Comet to look at him with a pair of puppy dog eyes.
No, few more minutes, please.
The little Spark whined as now both her parents approached. Come on, sweetie. We gotta go home and make dinner. Dino nuggets, remember? Evelyn recalled as she slowly reached her tail around and carefully picked up her daughter, carrying her over before setting her down atop Alice's shoulders.
Oh, Dino nuggets, yay!
Comet then cheered with small claps as the three adults took a sigh of relief. Thanks for playing with her today, Cor. We really needed those few hours. Atlas thanked as he cracked his neck from side to side. Of course. Anytime. The dark matter-infested Spark assured, before suddenly being cut off by a sound overhead. Turning their sights up, the four watched as two fighter jets, along with a third bulky purple craft, led the way, looking to have descended from the sky itself. New military check? Evelyn asked as the jets disappeared from behind a few buildings. I'm not sure. Definitely didn't recognize anything like the one in the front. Even then, why the hell are they flying so low? Alice asked as Cor just stared at the spot where they had gone. Is all he could say, wondering as to what the occasion for such a sight could have entailed. Soaring down to the center of the city, Shockwave and the two Seekers asserted themselves and transformed into the robot modes. As they did, the Decepticon scientists threw out Megatron and Soundwave, who swiftly transformed as well from their smaller alternative forms. As these large robots made landfall, everyone who had been within the vicinity suddenly began to scream and freak out. People with their floating upside-down heads scrambled out of the way, while tourists went in all directions in a frenzy. Look at them run! How pathetic! Starscream hacked out as the group of Decepticons began marching forwards into Leo de San Rico's Times Square. How fragile looking. Would be a shame to make them pop. Slipstream said before activating the null rays upon her arms and shooting at a few fleeing cars. Save the damages for later, Slipstream.
These insects will be needed for the age of construction.
Megatron boasted as Shockwave handed him the allspark.
It's time to show Prime the consequences of defying our order, starting with this pathetic little world.
Gripping its sides and then activating the allspark, Megatron suddenly began to use its power to create the beginning structure to a formation. A build that began to rise high and expand in width. A weapon, as one would put it.
Master, what exactly is your plan of action? The Autobots and their little freak show friends are surely on their way as we speak.
Starscream asked as he looked at the humans fleeing from the scene.
I am constructing a grand ground bridge. With it, we will transport Cybertron to this world and transfer its dead parts upon the ground we stand upon. Configuration, terraformation.
Megatron boomed as the structure began to grow larger and larger to the point where nearby buildings got trapped and fused within its build.
If Prime survived and his Autobots arrive, then we will be ready.
Megatron exclaimed with a smile as the powerful device continued to grow larger and larger.
Shall we lower the Nemesis, my lord?
Shockwave inquired with a clenched and shaken fist.
Descend the troops and seal the city. This war ends now!
Megatron boasted as he began to cackle maniacally upon seeing his grand ground bridge graze itself against the sky above. Journeys ahead. More than meets the eye. An unofficial crossover. Finale. Till all are one. Written and narrated by TS Pro Art. Within the distance, police sirens, fire trucks, and ambulances rushed all across the once poor side of Aurora, as the entire public was unaware as to what had happened. All that they were able to know was that some kind of event involving fighter jets took place, outside of a few locals swearing to have seen giant metal people fighting each other atop the bridge. Yet, no one was for certain as to what had happened, except for those who did. As the sun fully set over the horizon, a large blue metal hand connected to a red arm arose from the water and slammed hard upon a mossy dirt bay. Pulling himself out with a grunt, Optimus crawled on his hands and knees while being shielded by forestry and old buildings off to the side. Huffing, he opened his chest cavity and let out Void, Jay, and Florence, who had been stashed inside as to not drown in their fall.
Are you three alright?
Prime asked, as he then slowly sat up on one knee in a dripping mess. We're fine. But the allspark, they took it. The Decepticons have it. Void replied as both Jay and Florence held one another close, terrified but both thankful to have been alive. Huffing out some water through his vent sides, Prime nodded down in an uneasy manner before transforming and opening his door sides.
Autobots, meet up with me at this location.
Prime then said aloud as a mysterious ping alerted from within his radio.
Post haste.
He finished as Void and the other two got inside. This isn't good. Jay stuttered as both him and Florence grabbed each other's hands tightly. It's gonna be alright. We'll figure it out. Void assured as he rested his metal hand upon his son's shoulder while Optimus pulled out onto the nearby road, dragging a water trail behind himself. With the moon high above their heads, Optimus slowly pulled into an old and abandoned side of the city. One where no life resided, nothing to be salvaged, just another area ruined by the battle for Aurora from what was now years ago. In this area, Prime pulled into an old junkyard where Jazz and RC pulled up as well, Oh, thank Matira, Voight said as him, Jay, and Florence got out of the alien truck and ran towards Jida, Vivian, Joby, and Pofnu, who were now doing the same from Jazz and RC. Freckles! Voight called as he embraced his wife, who had been holding Jane close to her chest. Mom! Jay shouted as the Novasons greeted one another in a tight group hug. Blue... Jay... Jida greeted while kissing their foreheads. A Blue Jay? Where? Cece asked as she and the A&N crew, along with Nock, Cott, and Elijah, stepped out from the now transforming Autobots. Not the bird, Cece, not the bird. Winona tiredly stated as both her and Francine took a seat upon some crumbled over stone. As they did, Francine, without a word, gently leaned upon Winona's side, having the look of utter irritation on display with the tiniest hint of a blush. Hey, what happened? Are you three okay? Joby asked while Prime slowly transformed from behind. Wait, where's B and Wheeljack? Have you guys heard from them? RC asked as she ran up to Prime. Yeah, none of them have been communicating back. They with you? Jazz questioned as Prime slowly held his side. No, weren't they with you guys? Florence questioned as Pofnu approached and began to brush some dust off her fellow canine. They were until we were ambushed. Optimus, are they... RC began to speak again when the roadbug slowly drove in from around the corner, having a broken right headlight. Oh, there he is. Jida called with relief as Bumblebee then slowly began to transform. B! RC said with excitement while running over to him, however, stopping upon the scout's immediate image.
B?
Prime asked as the Autobot scout looked up with a tear-stained metal face.
Bumblebee?
Not questioned as everyone turned to face the small scout.
B?
Andy inquired as well while the small scout slowly marched forwards.
Bumblebee, are you... Wait a second. Where's Jackie?
Jason questioned, holding the scout in his tracks. Bumblebee? Elijah joined in as well, leaving the scout wincing, looking to the side, and bringing forth the mechanic's signature katana. A striking moment of silence was suddenly felt across everyone as they watched the Autobot stab the blade into the dirt. It couldn't be, they thought. Surely not.
No. Are you positive that?
Prime asked with saddening eyes as Bumblebee crumbled to one knee.
He's gone. Soundwave, I could have saved him.
The scout wept as he held his hand up to his face.
I could have saved him.
He repeated, getting everyone's stomachs to fall hard. No. Cod gasped while Winona covered her mouth. Wait. Wheeljack's dead? Joby asked as Void and the others just stared in disbelief.
No. Jackie. No.
Prime whispered in anguish while clenching his fist and looking to the side.
Oh, no. No. B, come here.
RC beckoned as she knelt down and wrapped her arms around her sparkmate.
I could have done more.
The scout repeated in anguish as the sharpshooter held her little bot close.
Oh, crap.
Jazz said with defeat as he fell back upon his metal rear.
He's... Frag.
He spat with a punch to the ground, while everyone below tried to process the news.
Damn it.
Void said, as Jida leaned into his side with a sense of sorrow.
Optimus, I'm sorry. I should have...
B wept on, causing the leader of the Autobots to now stare down upon him in remorse.
Bumblebee, this is not your fault.
Prime tried to assure, as he continued to process the information within a spark. As everyone tried to accept this fact, Jida turned heel and approached some of the others, while Void and Jay did the same, all in order to check up on them.
You guys okay?
The blue spark asked, as he knelt down to both Winona and Francine.
Fine.
The anchor woman spat.
We're okay. Thanks.
Winona added, while Jida checked up on Andy and Cece.
So, crazy college reunion, huh?
The cosmic angel asked towards Cece with a raised eyebrow.
You could say. I know I didn't get the chance to ask because of all this, but how have you been, Jida?
Cece inquired back, as both her and Jida had once known each other through a few classes in college. They weren't that close, but a mutual respect was shared up till graduation. After that, they had gone on their own ways.
Oh, I've been okay. Minus the fact that someone on the team just died.
Jida replied while brushing off a quiet Andy.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, that was a dumb question.
Cece apologized while holding her hands and looking down to the ground.
Hey, no sweat. Reunions are always awkward and bad for the most part. For high school and college. But it's good to talk to you again, really.
Jida quickly stated, leaving the upside-down faced human to smile.
Oh my god. Guys!
Elijah suddenly called while pacing back and forth and staring at his phone.
Babe, what is it?
Joby asked before quickly running up to him.
Those whatever they're called. They aren't wasting time. Look.
The kinetic said as he turned his phone around, showing everyone along with the Autobots what was happening. A news chopper from Leo de San Rico was providing a live stream down upon the city, showing a massive pyramid-like structure being forged with a large alien ship looming overhead. Seeker jets soared around, while what looked to be tons of Decepticon foot soldiers ravaged the city. People were running and screaming, some even being captured. To this, several in the large group gasped, while the Autobots now stared down with dread.
That's Leo. Core and the others are there.
Void said with worry.
My home! My parents!
Cece stayed with a double set of hands covering her mouth.
You've gotta be kidding me. Leo. Why Leo?
Cod joined in as a looming sense of danger cast itself over everyone.
Megatron has the allspark. Shit.
Void stayed in dismay, while Prime began to think hard. Scowling with a mixture of painful emotions, Optimus stood to his full height and began to speak from the spark.
Autobots, everyone, this war has lasted long enough.
The Autobot leader boasted as he threw his right hand out in a fist.
We have lost one world. I will not stand and allow for another to fall. To save Earth, to save the universe, I'm afraid that we must destroy the allspark.
Prime boasted, causing the Autobots to perk up in shock.
Optimus, destroying the allspark would mean dooming our race. You can't be serious.
Jazz asked as he threw his arms out to the side.
For too long, old friend. We have pondered the question of whether or not keeping it around was the best bet. I now realize that it will only lead to more chaos than prosperity. This is but a fraction of the damage it can be used for.
Prime reasoned as he looked back to the scene at hand.
If we don't act now, Earth will fall, along with many other forms of life. I do not want this as much as you, but if the allspark stays around, then more forces will come seeking its power. We must act now.
With a stern stare, Void approached the large Autobot and nodded his head with determination. If you're planning on going in there, then count us in too. This is our planet, our home. Void boasted as he activated his spear and clashed it upon the ground. Years ago I made a vow to protect it, no matter what. He went on before his son approached in booming steps. This is our home, our world. If Megatron thinks he can just come in here and take it for himself, then he's got a big storm coming. Jay stated as he summoned his armor pieces over his body. We face gods and monsters alike. We're gonna help you win this war. As you said, till all are one. Jida joined in as Pofnu approached in a nodding manner. Till all are one, she repeated. Till all are one. Vivian boasted with a firm stance and nodded to the Autobot leader. Following after, Joby spoke it, then Elijah, soon Nock, Kot, and then Winona. Till all are one. She followed, seeming to understand the message. Till all are one. Balmy repeated in anger as he picked up Wheeljack's sword and slotted it within his arm. Till all are one. Jazz and RC said, leaving Florence to be the last to speak. Till all are one. Nodding to this, Prime looked from the Earthlings and then to his bots with a look of gratitude and respect.
It appears they're trying to make the city into a fortress. I believe our best chance is to flank Megatron with the element of surprise.
The big bot said, getting Andy of all people to perk up. Hey, I think I can help with that, they said, before approaching the large Autobot. What? Francine asked, as the ANN crew followed after what was arguably their most important member, the camera operator. All news networks are linked, right? Cameras, traffic lights, the whole thing. Francine, if you can call up the heads, we can get a complete citywide view of where we can make our move. The horned human expressed, causing their crew's eyes to perk. Andy, since when were you so adamant on helping? The field reporter questioned as Andy looked back. I'm just really tired of this crap happening on our planet. If we can help, then I think we should at least give it a shot. The camera operator explained, leaving Void to walk up and pat their back and nod. Not bad, kid, he complimented. Thanks. Just, doing my job, sir. They replied, causing Winona to smile and Francine to make the call. Quick question. How exactly are we gonna get ourselves to Leo? Florence asked, causing Nock to approach.
Location stations, kiddo. It may not be the mayor anymore, but my tech has remained integrated with our city to this day. We've got a lot of traffic transfers around, so if you were to ask me, we'll get the drop on them.
Nock boasted as he transformed his robotic hand into a blaster. Jida, me and Nock can stay back and take care of Jane while you guys do your ass kicking, if you wish, Kot suggested, knowing full well that he and Nock were not the type to fight without something like a thumper. Thank you, Kot. That means a lot, Jida thanked as she bounced her sleeping baby up and down within her arms.
We may have not known one another for long, but I can say with full certainty that you have all earned the title of Autobots. Thank you. All of you.
Prime said with a nod as he transformed into his truck form.
Together, we stand united.
Optimus boomed as the other Autobots transformed as well.
And together, we will survive.
Prime finished as he opened his doors. Home team, Jay exclaimed as RC pulled up beside him and Florence. Take care of her, Jida said as she handed her sleeping baby the cot and knock. On our souls, the upside-down faced human replied as the baby snuggled into his arms. With this, he and the others got situated within the Autobots. Void and Jida in Prime, Joby, Elijah, Pofnu, and Vivian in Bumblebee, Jay, Florence, all of Knock and Cot, and Jane in RC, while the A&N crew clamored in the Jazz.
Let's roll,
Prime commanded as he pulled out first, with the others close behind. Having dropped Knock, Cot, and Jane off, the remaining Autobots swiftly drove down an Aurora City road and passed by those who had decided to come out that fateful night. The moon above was high and the stars twinkled bright. However, the news of what had been happening in Leo began to spread like wildfire. Earth at this point was used to crazy events. However, whenever they did happen, the whiplash always left a heavy impact and after effect in its wake. Are you sure you don't want to stay with the others? Jay asked, as Florence sat beside him and clenched her camera tightly. I won't die again. I'm helping. And besides, when all this is done, I think someone's going to get that front cover. Florence stayed with a half smirk before taking a photo of Jay. You've come a long way from the shy wolf, H-Flow. Just promise me to take cover, Jay asked as he leaned his forehead against the Lavin Wolf's. Of course, I promise, she assured, before giving Jay a small peck on the cheek. Okay, looks like our best bet is to ambush in from the city's mainline road, Andy exclaimed as he now looked upon Francine's phone, having full access to the street view of Leo.
Plug it in, Andy,
Jazz asked, leaving the bullhorned human the nod to get out a charger and interlock the device to Jazz's dashboard. Through this, all the Autobots received a proper insight upon their soon-to-be battleground.
Very well. Are you prepared, my friends?
Optimus asked, leaving Void to nod along with Jida charging her flames. Yeah, the location station is up ahead. Once we cross through, we'll be in the line of fire, both in the reach of whatever that is, Void questioned as he eyed the street view image upon Prime's dashboard screen. It's a ground bridge of some kind, a teleporter that can jump between space itself, RC elaborated as Void clicked a few buttons upon his arm and opened the station's portal ahead. Well, that doesn't sound good, Elijah groaned as he began to charge his kinetic energy.
It's not. What does Megatron plan to do with it?
Jazz inquired with a deafening when worried silence falling over everyone.
Let's stop him before we find out,
Bumblebee muttered in a hurtful tone as he revved his little engine towards the green portal. Here we go, the musician stated while summoning her fiery mouthguard over her face.
Prepare yourselves,
Prime called as one by one they all crossed through to the other side. With a giant purple beam, a massive ground bridge opener was shot into the sky, being powered by a highly active, spinning allspark upon the device's main deck control panel. Standing by with a rising warning light, Megatron, Soundwave, Starscream, and Shockwave looked up upon its form as it grew larger and larger within the sky, revealing the slightest hint of Cybertron on the other side.
This planet is ours,
Megatron boasted with a smile, before Soundwave slowly turned around.
Lord Megatron.
He beckoned as he and the others turned to follow the communications officer's gaze.
Anomaly detected.
He then said, as a green portal opened in the distance.
Is that a ground bridge?
Starscream asked as he eyed the emerald flare ahead.
A weak one. Inefficient looking.
Shockwave barked as Slipstream, Reflector, and Barricade all walked in from around the sides, followed up with several Seekers and Decepticon foot soldiers. As they stared, they all watched as Optimus and the other Autobots blasted on through with revving engines. They were a mile off, but Megatron could recognize an Autobot's scent from many more miles away.
Prime.
He growled with clenching fists.
Decepticons! Protect the allspark! Kill them!
Megatron commanded as he cocked his fusion cannon back and fired. With a huff, Soundwave leapt down first and began to run towards the enemy in quick steps.
Ravage, Laserbeak, Rumble, Frenzy, Eject!
He commanded while shooting out 4 cassettes from his chest, all of them transforming into his minicons.
Get ready to rumble!
Rumble exclaimed with his brother Frenzy by his side, leaving Ravage and Laserbeak in front. Following behind, Starscream, Slipstream, and several other Seekers launched down and transformed to their jet forms. After them went Barricade and Reflector, leaving Shockwave to cock his arm cannon and be the last attacker, choosing to stick close to the Allspark and Megatron, as opposed to right in the line of fight.
Autobots, transform! Attack!
Prime then commanded as he drove up a broken piece of cement and transformed. Landing hard and bringing out his Energon blades, Prime ran with both Void and Jida leaping forwards alongside him, spear and fire charged in stunning shines. From behind, Bumblebee transformed, with his passengers leaping out in a prepared manner as well. Throwing his arm out, the scout activated Wheeljack's katana and eyed down the approaching Decepticons in his path. Beside him, RC transformed, throwing Jay forwards with his sword readied, and driving Florence into sliding behind a piece of rubble. With her visor over her eyes, RC brought forth 2 blasters and began to open fire, leaving Jazz to spin, drop the A&N crew off in swift fashion, transform, and open fire as well. Coming back at them, Decepticon foot soldiers and Seekers made their move, bringing the battle to its head. Rearing his blades back, Prime lunged forwards and began to slice his way through the enemy. Below him, both Void and Jida leapt and struck with their respective weapons, tearing through enemy Decepticons with both fire and electricity. In a lunge, Bumblebee began to slice his way forwards, having Joby, Elijah, Pawmu, and Vivian below him. With golden Nova runes, Joby clashed and bashed out the legs of Seekers and smaller foot soldiers, leaving Elijah to leap forwards, take hold, and blow them apart with ease. With slides and flips, Vivian dodged around swinging metal arms and legs, only to freeze and shatter them in retaliation. Beside her, Pawmu charged her tails and clashed herself through even more Decepticons, using her own gifted katana as well in a combined effort. Side by side, Jay and RC fought. The little Spark swung his sword, shot electricity from his horns, and even gave the Cons his mom's classic flaming kick. Transferring her wheels to her feet, RC spun and shot, as well as kicking her way through those in her path. Yet, before she could strike again, Slipstream suddenly soared down, transformed, and snagged RC by the throat, bringing her up to the sky and out of the fight. RC! Jay called in shock, before having to turn back to the fight at hand.
Clear a path!
Jazz exclaimed as he suddenly shot out a grappling hook, snatched the Seeker by the waist, and swung him into another collection of Cons, making their trek more open to traverse through. As the fight raged on, both Florence and the A&N crew snuck themselves through rubble and broken structures to stay out of danger, yet to also keep up with the others. Peeking behind broken stone, the Lavin Wolf began to take photos, which caused Winona to raise an eyebrow. "You a photographer?" she quietly asked, as metal arms flew overhead. Aspiring one, yes," Florence replied, before turning her sights to the right and taking notice of several caged humans attached to a mechanical extension off the ground. "Oh, that's cool. If you need a job one day, why not give us a call? We could use an extra photographer back at A&N. Cece whispered, while Florence continued to stare at the prisoners. "Noted.
But there's more important things at hand. Let's get these people out of here.
Florence called as she pointed towards the prisoners. Upon seeing this, the ANN crew knew that they had the help and beckoned for the wolf to lead the way. With a hard punch and slice, Optimus fought his way through many Decepticons, while Void and Jida battled side by side below him. Swinging his spear, the Spark jumped and skewered his electrical tip through many of the Decepticons, while Jida strummed her guitar and sent them tumbling aside in burning embers. However, within a flash, a Green Seeker landed down and threw the both of them back.
Insects!
The Khan said, as he prepared to open fire upon the two of them, but will suddenly stop as a dark and sharp tendril swung through the air and sliced its arm clean off. In shock, Void and Jida watched as a sharp tail suddenly appeared along with a spinning katana.
Take it down!
A deep voice called as blurs of orange, red, and purple clashed themselves into the Khan, taking it out in a shocking and brutal way. Once the chaos was over, the married pair set their sights upon none other than Core, Atlas, and Evelyn, who had suddenly joined the fight, or rather, looking to have been fighting for a long time.
Mateer's might! Guys!
Void exclaimed with relief as the Sparks all reunited.
Void, what the hell is going on? What are these things?
Core asked as he reached down to help Void and Jida stand to their feet.
Look, there's no time to explain everything, alright? You see these guys?
Void asked as he pointed to Prime, Bumblebee, and Jazz.
Those guys are called Autobots. They're on our side, alright? The robots with the sharp symbol, however.
Void continued as he pointed to the dead Seeker.
That's our enemy, Decepticons. We're trying to help the Autobots take them down once and for all. You think you can help? There's a lot of them.
Void asked the baffled Sparks as triangular jets soared overhead.
Kind of already been doing that, Void. If anything, we should be thanking you for the backup.
Allison said before Jida spoke up.
Hey, where's Comet?
She asked as more Decepticons approached.
With a friend. She's safe. Help these three?
Evelyn asked while sharpening her tail and pointing to the Autobots.
There's four, but yeah. Be careful. They can crush you without warning.
Void called as he readied his spear once again.
Figured that out already.
Core replied as he transformed himself into his beast form.
Then let's move.
Jida bellowed, getting the five of them to quickly attack on their toes. Within the air, RC punched and kicked, with their back thrusters exhausting the maximum velocity. The Seeker and Autobot went spiraling through the air, all while the battle below raged on.
I'm getting really sick of you Autobots and your rebellion.
The Decepticon spat while grasping the Autobot's face with their sharp-nailed hands.
You? Stick with us? Please.
RC retorted as she suddenly deployed a blade from under her right arm and rammed it forwards in the Slipstream's side.
Let me take those words and put them in my mouth, huh? How about that?
As metal clashed with metal, RC, in an awkward maneuver, flipped herself up and around, getting upon Slipstream's back and taking a shot into her rocket engine.
Get off this planet!
The good bot spat before kicking and flipping off Slipstream and leaving the Khan to blindly plummet out of control.
God, you!
She screamed all the way down to the last, ramming to the side of a building and exploding.
See ya!
RC replied in a smirk before landing back to Leo in a kneeled stance.
And there we go. You're free. Run!
Florence shouted as her and the ANN crew successfully broke open the cages, having decided to tear out the wiring as opposed to figuring out the lock combination.
Go, go, go! Get out of here, you idiots!
Francine barked as she pushed a few of the prisoners out and away, while Andy, Cece, and Winona did the same in a more gentle manner.
Oh man, this is crazy. Oh, this is freaking crazy.
Winona muttered, for the sound of tires revving up came from behind. All turning around, the group was met to the sight of the ANN van, roaring up upon them in a furious manner.
Human scum!
One of the reflector bots boasted, causing a pit to fall within everyone's stomachs.
Uh-oh!
Cece quietly gasped as Florence slid to the front of them, extended her claws, and growled in a protective manner. Yet, before an attack could be made, Jazz quickly drove up as well in a stylish manner. He transformed and then unleashed a soundwave blast through the speaker's mouth on the sides of his shoulders. From this, Reflector transformed and split apart, all shouting and falling back to the nearby rubble. As they hit the ground with clanks and clunks, Jazz shot out his grappling hook and snared the three of them back into a trap.
Party's over!
The Autobot boomed as he then began to turn and swing the three little Decepticons around, once, then twice, and at last, throwing them aside and into a cluster of wires and power converters into the side of the now broken open cages. From this, Reflector were all ignited into an explosive flame, left them shouting, and then falling silent into 1,000 little parts. Pieces! Francine cried while shielding her eyes. Oh no! The van! Cece called, while Winona and Andy just stared with tired and stunned eyes to the scene. Whatever, I wasn't a fan of the colors to begin with. Winona groaned as she and the others all turned back to Jazz. Thank you, Florence said with a smirk, getting Jazz to smile and then give a thumbs up. Continuing the run side by side, Bumblebee, Pawfnu, Joby, Elijah, and Vivian raged on with colorful blasts and swinging swords. Driving up on them and then transforming, Barricade, with an irritated look on his face, slid to a stop and began to shoot the ground with a rapid-fire pistol.
Freeze!
He called, as the Earthlings dodged out of the way from his assault. Deploying his battle mask, Bumblebee brought forth his arm cannon and began to rapid fire upon the Decepticon, who swiftly dodged and was met with a rearing slash from Wheeljack's katana. To this, Barricade gasped and fell to the side, leaving Elijah to slide up and press his hands against Khan's body. See ya! He said with a smirk before launching the bad cop away with a kinetic pulse. Flying and shouting through the air, Barricade spiraled before getting knocked aside from an approaching sound wave.
Attack!
He commanded towards his mini-cons, leaving both him and Bumblebee to glare at one another. Uh-oh! Little ones! They got little ones! Pawfnu realized as Ravage pounced upon her with his sharp tooth snapping jaws. Beside this, Rumble began to quake the ground with two jackhammer hands upon Joby, leaving Frenzy to go toe-to-toe on Elijah, and Laserbeak to fire down upon Vivian. You, is all Bumblebee could say as he raised his blade.
Coward!
Soundwave called back before shooting at Bumblebee with his shoulder turret. Transforming downwards in a dodge, he quickly drove up on Soundwave before transforming back and slicing the blade. Raising his arm, Soundwave deflected the cut and firmly punched Bumblebee aside with his extensive snake-like cables. As this occurred, Pawfnu released an energy pulse and knocked Ravage away. As the Cybertronian Panther slid backwards, he activated two hip rockets and fired towards the Kitson with a deadly force. Oh boy! She called with an evading spin, getting the big cat to growl in anger. Beside them, Vivian reared her arms back and shot out strands of ice from her frostbiters, freezing Laserbeak mid-flight and falling down with harsh force. With light matter Nova runes, Joby struck upon a shouting Rumble, while Elijah took hold of Frenzy and launched him back and crashing into Rumble, setting them both out of the fight. Taking her chance, Pawfnu summoned and swung her chain blades forwards, wrapping it around Ravage's neck, spinning and throwing him aside towards Soundwave. As the communications officer prepared to punch B down again, the feline minicon struck him in the head, giving B the opening. This is for Jackie! He shouted with a leap and plunging the blade in the Soundwave's chest. In reaction, an ear-stinging screech escaped from Soundwave's audio ports as he tried to fight off the scout. Yet before he could, Joby, Vivian, Pawfnu, and Elijah rushed up and helped the Autobot with a combined attack. With her ice, Vivian froze Soundwave's legs, while Elijah took hold of a large stone and sent it flying at him. To finish it off, the two Nova Sun sisters created a blast of spectral essence and light matter that struck Soundwave's chest and blew him away. With a powerful crash, Soundwave fell into the side of a building and was cut out of the fight. In response, the minicons all stood to their feet, snarled at the heroes, and rushed for their master, clearing the way once again. Good riddance. Bumblebee spat as he held Jackie's sword down by his side and nodded to the Earthlings. We're almost there! Keep pushing! Void boasted as him, Jida, the Sparks, and Prime all continued the fight onwards, leaving the last real threat in their path to be Shockwave. Raising his cannon up, the Decepticon shot a massive lug forwards, leaving Prime to dodge spin, then lunge with a punch. In a powerful strike, Optimus clashed his two fists upon Shockwave's abdomen, leaving the four-legged Cybertronian to stare blankly in an unfazed manner.
Your rebellion ends tonight, Prime. It's over.
Shockwave bellowed as both him and Optimus entered a violent hand-to-hand combat formation.
This will not end in your favor, Shockwave. Walk away now and save yourself the consequences.
Optimus demanded as they continued the fight. With a thrust in her hands, Jida unleashed her dragon-headed fire blast, while Core leapt upon Shockwave's back. With his spiked tail, he jammed its end into the Decepticon and attempted to rip him apart, while Atlas and Evelyn provided cover fire from below. Looking to the scene in full, Void could see that they were getting the upper hand, causing him to turn and then eye the ground bridge platforms above. Glancing back and forth, the Spark scowled, activated his wings, then soared upwards, choosing to make the first move in their final attack, while Shockwave was dealt with. Landing with a slide, Void craned his sights forwards and down a long metal platform where he could see Megatron both standing and controlling the allspark. Frowning, the young Novason activated his left arm cannon with all of his electric hooks, while charging himself up for the inevitable fight ahead. "Hey, Megatron!" the Spark shouted, getting the leader of the Decepticons to turn and be illuminated by the bright beam shooting up the tunnel capsule from behind. Raising his arm cannon forwards, Void fired once and then twice into the Decepticon's chest, getting him to snarl and retaliate with his own fire blast. With a flip, Void dodged the first strike, then slid away from the second, before ducking under a third and final attack. Looking back forwards, the Spark activated his battle mask and stood in a readied stance, preparing for whatever came next.
You pathetic Earthling! Do you truly believe you can defeat me all alone?
Megatron asked as he cocked his cannon down with one arm. Before Void could reply, Optimus suddenly leapt upwards onto the bridge and came to a sliding stop at Void's side.
He is not alone, Megatron.
The leader of the Autobots boomed as both Jida and Jay successfully warped themselves to be by their sides.
Prime.
Megatron growled with an angry glare to his eyes as the four before him readied themselves for the final battle.
You are all fools! Why throw away your lives so recklessly?
Megatron asked as he activated his Energon mace and spun around with a powerful velocity.
You should be asking that yourself, Megatron. This ends now.
Prime shouted back as he activated his Energon axe.
One shall stand,
The Autobot boasted.
and one shall fall.
Megatron replied as he began the charge of the squad. Running back at him, Prime rushed ahead as the Novason family trailed behind. With a slash, Megatron swung his mace and got it tied around Optimus's axe. Before history could repeat itself, Jida leapt upwards with another successful warp and smashed a flaming fist upon Megatron's face. At the same moment, Jay jumped and sliced the chain around the mace clean off with his sword, while both Void and Prime swung their free fists and clashed them into the Decepticon's abdomen. As all this occurred, a rupture occurred within the sky, with the ground bridge portal widened and fully revealed Cybertron upon the other side, getting closer and closer to crossing through. Cybertron! RC gasped from below, as everyone who was still conscious looked upwards in shock. Autobots, Decepticons, and Earthlings. Oh my god! Florence gasped, as her and the A&N crew couldn't take their eyes away from the sight.
Why can't you understand, Prime? Cybertron is the center of my universe. Why isn't it the center of yours?
Megatron asked, as he shot a blast into the ground to an evading Jay.
Cybertron is about all life, not terraformation.
Optimus exclaimed as he rammed Megatron against the ground bridge's wall. As the fight raged on, Void, Jida, and Jay set their sights upon the allspark that was spinning at a violent velocity in a burning blue shade, realizing that it had been the power source for the incoming collision course above. We gotta shut it down, Jay called as the two robots thrashed and crashed overhead. We gotta destroy it, Jida replied as she looked back to her son. Jay, give me a charge, the older Spark then asked, leaving Jay the nod. Sharing the life with his Beyonder abilities, Jay sent a wave of it to his hand and then punched it into his father's back. From this, Void's blue shine suddenly ignited into his Beyonder red shade, giving him an energy boost for only a short duration of time. Alright, I'll deal with the allspark. You two help Prime, go! He then said before rushing the control deck in a ruby red haze. With a kick, Megatron knocked Prime aside and then set his sights upon the supercharged spark, readying his hooks to strike the powerful item down.
No! No!
The Khan called while beginning to open fire. Dodging and sliding, Void evaded the attacks while Megatron was suddenly taken down by a warping Jay and Jida, who both kicked him in the face. Yet, before Void could make his move, Starscream soared down and transformed, slamming his fist into the metal platform and throwing the spark back.
Die, weaker bot!
He bellowed while reaching down and snagging the spark in his mitts.
Let go of me, or else!
Void threatened as Starscream began to squeeze him.
Or what?
The Decepticon asked, leaving Void to scowl and begin the charge.
Huh? What are you?
Starscream questioned, before suddenly feeling his arm shred apart and his body get blown back from a massive red gust of power. He cried before falling over the ledge and crashing upon Shockwave, cutting the both of them out of the fight. From this, Core, Alice, and Evelyn leapt backwards, but quickly returned to the battle that raged on from behind. Falling back down, Void set his sights back upon the allspark and continued the trek forwards, while the final stand raged on from the side. With a mighty punch, Optimus stood back up and knocked the Decepticon into the ground bridge's wall once more. From this impact, a metal chunk of sharp debris fell, causing Megatron to grab it and then hurl it to the mother and daughter duo beside the Autobot. Quickly stepping in front of them, Prime took the blow to his already damaged abdomen, but kept on fighting. With a gruff, Megatron stood back up and raised his cannon and fired, leaving Jaya to grab and warp Jay out of the way, but for Prime to dodge, charge, and swing. Throwing his right arm around, he clashed Megatron with such force that his fusion cannon fell to the ground in a hefty clank. Howling in anger, Megatron leapt back upwards and back down upon Prime, only to be uppercut by the Autobots' returning fist. As Megatron fell, Optimus rushed him once again.
No!
The Decepticon cried as he attempted to kick Optimus out from under his feet. To this, Prime dodged again and tackled his once brother in arms, causing them to both roll and grab at each other's faces.
I'll rip out your optics!
Megatron roared as he attempted to ram his thumbs into Prime's eyes. However, before he could, Jay warped back up with a cosmic flared kick and struck Megatron square in the jaw. Not today, Buckethead! He called with a smile, sending the leader launching back and landing hard upon the ground. As this all occurred, Void leapt up and stood upon the control deck, eyeing the allspark down and then to the massive metal planet above. Okay, please don't blow everything up. Please don't blow everything up. Void worriedly pled as he raised his arms back, activated his hooks, and got ready to strike.
No! No!
Megatron howled as Optimus stood and then transformed.
Megatron!
He called before blasting forwards with burning smokestacks.
Be gone!
In unison, both Void and Optimus struck. With a slash, Nova Sun shattered the allspark apart, while Optimus struck Megatron and sent him shouting over the ledge. With a bright light, the ground bridge's beam ceased from sight, instantly sending Cybertron back to space and sealing the portal within the rising morning sunlight.
No! No!
Megatron bellowed from the grounds below as Starscream slowly stumbled his way over to him in his own injured state.
How do you feel, mighty Megatron?
The Seeker asked as he kicked him to the side.
Starscream, you...
The leader of the Decepticons gasped as he watched Cybertron disappear from view.
Decepticons! It's time to make our leave! The allspark is no more! We've lost! Retreat!
Starscream called through his comlink before transforming and flying back up to the Nemesis. In response, all his Seekers and foot soldiers either transformed and blasted up, or latched onto said Seekers to escape.
No! No!
Megatron continued to groan before hearing a pair of footsteps approaching him from behind. Turning, he watched as an injured Soundwave appeared beside a shredded apart, dark matter-covered Shockwave.
Soundwave, don't leave me here.
Megatron asked, as all the remaining Decepticons fled to the Nemesis above.
As you command, Lord Megatron.
Soundwave assured, as Shockwave transformed to his jet mode.
The allspark is no more, my lord. This planet will berate us without its power. As much as I hate to say it, Starscream is right. We must leave.
Shockwave expressed in an injured state, as Soundwave rested Megatron as well as himself down.
This isn't over, Prime.
Megatron groaned as Shockwave carried them both up to the Nemesis as it at last began to leave.
The Decepticons! They're fleeing!
RC called with glee as all the Autobots and Earthlings from below stood side by side. We did it! We did it! Yeah! We did it! Winona cheered with an in-air fist pump as the Nemesis began to blast off to the stars. And stay out! Joby called while throwing a Nova Rune as all the cons fled the scene, leaving Earth for what they could only hope to have been forever. Back atop a now slowly dissolving ground bridge, Void felt his colors revert back to blue as he stared with a sense of unease upon the allspark shattered remains. It was over. They had won, but at the cost of what had been the Cybertronian's key form of life. Kneeling down, the spark took in a long sigh and gently plucked a piece of it off the ground, unsure of what to think or say. As he did this, Jida, Jay, and Optimus approached from behind, causing the spark to shake his head in a sense of shame. Optimus, are you sure there wasn't anything else we could have done? Void questioned as he turned around to greet Optimus's kneeling form.
Void, this was the only way. Do not feel guilty for your actions. This was of my command.
Prime reminded as he held at his side and nodded down low. As these words were shared, the other Autobots along with the rest of Void's crew clambered their way upon the bridge, as it slowly descended back down in shifting clicks. Jay! Florence called, getting the young spark to whirl his head. Whoa! He replied, as the two embraced one another.
Hey, you guys alright?
Cor asked as both him and Joby rushed up to Void. Yeah, we are now. He replied as everyone began to ease up and pat each other on the back.
Well done, everyone. This is a victory that will be noted in Cybertronian texts for years to come.
Jazz said with a tired breath, while RC and Bumblebee began to hug it out. Hey, you four. Void then called while pointing at the A&N crew. I saw what you and Florence did. Great work. All of you for getting those prisoners freed. And especially you, Andy, that starting plan. The Spark said, while Prime slowly began to pick up the Allspark's pieces. Yeah, that was some high bravery back there, you guys. We could actually use your guys' help more often on the field rather than behind the screen. Maybe. Jaya suggested, getting Winona to perk up. Oh, like a team? She asked, leaving Joby to smile with Elijah interlocked around her arms. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you guys have just made your foot in the Orbisalt members list. Even though you guys had already been as such for an unofficial while. Thanks for being our eyes as always. She stated, while Pofnu stretched and then sat down with a yawn. Welcome to the official circus, you four. She assured, as Winona began to quietly fangirl, leaving Andy the smirk, Cece the giggle, and Francine the roll her eyes and eat her words from the night prior. Huffing, Prime clenched the Allspark's remains and stood back to his full height, eyeing everyone down with a look of compassion. Yet, before he could speak again, the sight of distant military choppers and law enforcement was seen from afar, causing everyone to stand and back a little ways off.
Autobots, let's roll. It's time to leave,
he said, before backing off into the shadows and transforming, and the others following suit to avoid detection from possible human contact.
And that should do it.
Knox shouted as him and Cott finalized a set of repairs upon the Autobots' crashed escape pod within the woods.
Great timing. Ratchet and the rest just made orbit above Earth,
Jazz revealed as he stood and brushed himself off from leaves and grass. Beside him stood both Bumblebee and RC, along with Prime, who was now cradling the broken remains of Wheeljack within his arms. Below, Void and those who accompanied them at the Leo battle looked up towards the Autobots with a sense of honor in their hearts. I suppose this is the part where we say goodbye? Jay asked as Optimus knelt down to the group.
No, not goodbye, my friend. Rather, I like to see it as a see you later.
Optimus assured with a small pat to Jay's head before slowly standing back to his large blue feet.
Thank you for your help. I apologize for the damages that have resulted from our arrival.
Optimus apologized as the back of the escape pod opened up. Hey, don't sweat it, big guy. This isn't Earth's first rodeo. We'll be just fine. Void assured with a shrug and smiling nod to Prime. Please, take care of yourselves and good luck out there. You can come by Earth anytime. Jida added as she gently made Jane wave goodbye. Wait. Before you guys go. Florence suddenly called with a run forwards. May I take a photo of all of us? She asked, while gesturing between both sides in a tail-swaying manner. Smiling with his eyes, Optimus gently sent Wheeljack's remains inside the pod before him and the Autobots slowly approached back out.
Of course, Florence,
he agreed as everyone got together. Smiling, the Lavin Wolf pulled out her camera as the entire group surrounded her with the robots standing tall in the back.
Do we say cheese again, or?
Bumblebee asked as RC pulled him in close. No, we go on 3. Florence said with a smile and glanced to Jay, who huddled in at her side. 1, 2, 3. With a firm click, the camera went off and created one grandiose photo, perfect for not just the school book cover, but also for hanging up in a photo frame. That's probably your best one yet, Jay exclaimed as the photo came out for all to see. That's just my horns and frame, Andy said with a dumbfounded face, getting everyone to laugh.
Well, before we depart, once again, thank you, all of you. If I were to be truthful, I'd say you all would have been worthy of being a Prime,
Optimus said as Bumblebee, RC, and Jazz waved goodbye and entered into the craft.
Keep fighting the noblest of fights, my friends, till we meet again.
Prime bid farewell as the Novasuns and their friends smiled and waved. Goodbye, Optimus. Till we meet again. Void replied, getting Prime to look over his shoulder, smile with his eyes, and then walk into the craft. With a sealing click, The door shut, and it swiftly was up in the air. Shielding their eyes, everyone below watched and continued the wave as the Autobots shot back into space, going higher and higher, till all that was seen was a small twinkle within the sky. To all are one, Jay whispered with a smile, as Earth was left in peace for yet another sunrise that grace its skies. Well, that certainly was one of the craziest days and a half of my life. Jay said as both him and Florence held hands while walking through Aurora's city park. Smiling, the Lavenwolf swayed her tail while wearing a gentle yellow-white striped dress, with Jay wearing brown shorts, black sneakers, and a red tank top, both perfect for a summer afternoon walk. Would you like to count that as our first date? The Lavenwolf asked with a blushing smile as the two gently walked in stride beneath a large set of red petal trees. What? I mean, isn't this more of what you'd like? Jay asked as the two stopped and held both their hands. Calm breezes, flowers, zero robots causing chaos? The spark questioned, causing Florence to just shrug with a smirk. Well, it is nice, but to be honest, I think I've come to enjoy the thrill of adventure, danger, craziness. I mean, I'm holding your hands after all. Your hands. Florence said with a smirk, causing Jay to chuckle in response. Well, I guess it's just a side effect when you hang out with my family. It's a never-ending journey with us, it would seem. Jay replied as Florence wrapped her tail around the both of them. And I wouldn't mind that one bit, JB. The wolf flirted as she gently pulled Jay in close and lifted his chin with her finger claw. Again, hard to believe that you're the same shy girl from those years back. Jay replied as he rested his free hand over her fluffy cheek. What? Would you like for me to revert back? Florence asked with a raised eyebrow. Doesn't matter to me, Flo. You'll always be perfect at the end of the day. Nothing will ever change that in my eyes. Jay lovingly said with a smirk, causing Florence's ears to flatten and face to flush with red. Jay, you've always been so damn kind. The wolf giggled before the two of them leaned in and shared a loving kiss. For a long moment, the two stayed as such before pulling away and laughing. Taking hold of their single hands again, they both began walking and enjoying the moment, once again feeling at peace through everything in the end. Yet, as they disappeared from sight, something began to emerge from one of the trees. Slowly crawling out from the wood appeared a small mixture of both dark and light matter, both with tiny, bulging eyes with their sloppy masses. Craning their sights to the side, they watched as Jay and Florence disappeared down the trail, before sinking back into the roots, disappearing and only leaving a small wet splotch to signify that something was even there to begin with.
All hail Majira.